stands as an anomaly, a man who has mastered life through instinct rather than instruction. His intelligence isn't written on a piece of paper. It's etched into the experiences that shaped him. Street smarts, unlike conventional education, rely on emotional intelligence, adaptability, and a keen sense of observation. According to psychologists, this form of intelligence, often called practical intelligence, is crucial for navigating unpredictable environments. The Sigma male doesn't need validation from institutions because his classroom is the world itself. Every success and setback becomes a lesson, every interaction a test of perception. He moves through life with the precision of someone who can read between the lines of human behavior, recognizing motives before they're spoken. This is what makes him versatile. Whether he's negotiating in a boardroom or blending in among strangers on the street, he adapts effortlessly. Sociologists often note that street-smart individuals excel at social calibration. They know when to speak, when to listen, and when silence carries the most power. For the Sigma, silence isn't a lack of words, it's strategy. He thrives on authenticity, valuing truth over image and intuition over intellect. Where others chase recognition, he seeks understanding. He knows that real intelligence is not about memorizing facts, but mastering self-awareness and reading the invisible dynamics that govern human interaction. The street-smart Sigma doesn't fight for control. He flows with it, shaping outcomes subtly and efficiently. His strength lies not in dominance, but in discernment, a quiet mastery that sets him apart from the rest. Number one, he understands people, not just theories. While others analyze human behavior through textbooks, the street-smart Sigma observes it in motion. He doesn't need a psychology degree to understand people. He learns through observation, trial, and instinct. His mind operates like a human radar, constantly scanning subtle details others overlook. Every flicker of the eyes, twitch of the mouth, or shift in tone becomes data. Micro-expressions, the fleeting emotional reactions that pass across a person's face in less than a second, are his unspoken language. These signals, rooted in the research of psychologists like Paul Ekman, can reveal truth even when someone tries to hide it. The Sigma studies them naturally, learning over time which gestures indicate honesty, deceit, attraction, or discomfort. This awareness gives him a rare psychological edge. He doesn't just hear what people say, he feels what they mean. A change in breathing might tell him someone is anxious. A delayed smile might suggest hidden resentment. These are not guesses, they're insights honed through countless real-world interactions. Street smarts at their core are applied psychology, an intuitive understanding of human behavior developed through experience rather than theory. In crowded rooms or tense negotiations, this makes the Sigma almost prophetic. He can sense tension before words ignite it, predict betrayal before it surfaces, and read sincerity before trust is broken. What makes this gift even more powerful is that it's not used for manipulation, it's used for navigation. The Sigma male knows that awareness is protection. While others get caught in emotional traps or deceptive social games, he sidesteps them with precision. He can see the invisible currents of power and intention that flow beneath every conversation. Like a chess master, he plans 3 moves ahead, but without announcing his strategy. His goal isn't to dominate, it's to remain free from influence. This ability to read the room also helps him connect authentically. Because he perceives people beyond their masks, he communicates on a deeper level. He knows when someone's pain is hidden behind laughter or when a compliment conceals envy. His empathy doesn't make him weak, it makes him wise. In a world where many depend on algorithms and analytics to understand behavior, the street-smart Sigma relies on the oldest technology of all, human intuition. While others study human behavior in books, he lives it in real time, seeing, sensing, and understanding what most will never notice. Number 2, he adapts faster than most men can plan. The Sigma male's adaptability is his silent armor, a trait forged not from comfort, but from survival. In a world that glorifies predictability, he thrives in uncertainty. He doesn't panic when plans change or when the ground shifts beneath his feet. He adjusts, recalibrates, and continues forward. This flexibility is not weakness, it's evolution in motion. Psychologists describe this trait as psychological resilience, the ability to recover quickly from setbacks and maintain balance under pressure. Unlike others who depend on structure and validation, the Sigma male draws strength from independence. He's comfortable walking alone because solitude has taught him clarity. He doesn't need external systems to define him. He's his own compass, whether it's navigating a toxic workplace, dealing with betrayal, or surviving an economic downturn. His instinct is not to complain, but to adapt. This mindset mirrors the principle of Darwinian adaptability. Survival doesn't belong to the strongest or the smartest, but to those most responsive to change. The Sigma male understands this deeply. He's lived it. Life has thrown him curveballs, yet he's learned to bend instead of break. His ability to stay calm amid chaos isn't accidental. It's trained through experience. He's learned that control is an illusion. What truly matters is composure. Neuroscience even supports this. Studies show that flexible thinkers, those who can reframe situations quickly, activate parts of the brain linked to creative problem-solving and emotional regulation. This explains why Sigmas often seem detached when others crumble. They're not cold, they're calculating. They know every storm passes, and reacting emotionally only drains the energy needed to adapt. His calm presence in a crisis isn't arrogance, it's awareness. The Sigma male lives by a principle of inner elasticity. He knows rigidity leads to fragility, and the one who insists on controlling every outcome eventually breaks under pressure. Flexibility, on the other hand, allows him to flow around obstacles like water finding its course. It's why he can move between social circles, environments, or even careers without losing his identity. He doesn't resist life. He studies it, aligns with it, and molds his strategy accordingly. That's his secret. He adapts without compromising his core. While others fear change, he sees it as training, each unexpected event sharpening his instincts. For him, adaptability isn't a reaction, it's a way of life, a refined art that turns chaos into opportunity. Number 3, he values resourcefulness over resources. While others rely on tools, titles, or networks, the street-smart Sigma relies on himself. His strength doesn't come from what he owns, but from what he knows. In a world that constantly shifts, where jobs vanish overnight, trends fade, and power structures crumble, his real advantage is adaptability. He's learned to create solutions from nothing, to think on his feet when there's no safety net or backup plan. This isn't luck or coincidence. It's the result of years spent observing people, reading situations, and mastering the subtle art of survival. Street smarts, in psychological terms, blend what experts call practical intelligence with situational awareness. It's the ability to apply knowledge, not just acquire it, to see patterns where others see problems, and to act while others hesitate. Studies in behavioral psychology suggest that people who develop this kind of adaptability tend to perform better under pressure because their confidence comes from experience, not theory. For the Sigma male, this adaptability becomes a quiet armor. He doesn't crumble when plans fail or when life throws unexpected challenges his way. He's trained himself to stay calm, to observe before reacting, and to think independently rather than depending on authority or validation. That independence is rare in a world obsessed with group approval. The Sigma's mind functions like a compass. It may not predict the storm, but it always finds true north. He's the man who knows how to survive without depending on trends, systems, or anyone's permission to succeed. What makes this even more powerful is his psychological resilience. Neuroscientists have shown that when the brain is exposed to repeated stress in manageable doses, what's known as stress inoculation, it learns to adapt faster, becoming more efficient in decision-making and problem-solving. The Sigma male unconsciously lives by this principle. His real-life challenges become his training ground. Every setback becomes data. Every rejection becomes a recalibration. Over time, he builds what most never achieve, a deep, unshakable confidence rooted not in control, but in capability. So while others panic during economic downturns or social shifts, the Sigma stands steady. His foundation isn't external, it's internal. He knows that the world can change, but as long as he remains adaptable, aware, and resourceful, he'll always find a way forward. This is the essence of true self-reliance, not isolation, but mastery. The street-smart Sigma doesn't just survive, he evolves, quietly thriving where others fall apart. Number 4, he reads energy, not just words. A Sigma male possesses an almost supernatural ability to sense tension before conflict begins, not because he's psychic, but because he's perceptive. His awareness is not driven by paranoia or overthinking. It's a finely tuned skill developed from years of observation and solitude. You see, when a man spends long stretches of time alone, he learns to read subtle cues others ignore. The flicker of an eye, a change in tone, a forced laugh, these details speak volumes to him. Research in behavioral psychology supports this notion. People who spend more time in reflective silence tend to heighten their sensitivity to nonverbal communication. The Sigma's silence isn't emptiness, it's data collection. He listens not just to words, but to the energy behind them. In social dynamics, this gives him an edge. He can walk into a room and immediately sense whether harmony or hostility lingers in the air. In negotiations, his intuition acts like radar, detecting insincerity long before it surfaces. In friendships, it warns him when loyalty fades or motives shift. And in romance, it helps him distinguish between genuine affection and emotional manipulation. This sensitivity doesn't make him cold, it makes him selective. He doesn't chase validation or approval because his compass is internal. He knows when energy flows naturally and when it feels forced. Scientists have linked this level of awareness to a form of high emotional intelligence, specifically empathic accuracy, the ability to infer others' thoughts and feelings based on micro-expressions and tone variations. But while most people absorb emotions reactively, the Sigma processes them analytically. He steps back, observes, and decodes. This detachment protects his peace. It's why he rarely finds himself in unnecessary drama. He sees it coming long before others do. His intuition is not some mystical gift. It's a survival mechanism refined through independence. While others rely on external validation to navigate social life, he relies on energy, the unspoken truth beneath every conversation. This is why people find it difficult to lie to a Sigma. They may choose their words carefully, but their energy betrays them. And the Sigma, quietly observing, already knows. His ability to read between the lines shields him from toxicity and draws him toward sincerity. It's not magic. It's mastery of awareness, the kind that only solitude, experience, and authenticity can teach. Number 5, he operates outside the system. Street smarts teach independence in its purest form. It's not about breaking rules, it's about understanding them deeply enough to know when they no longer apply. The street smart man isn't guided by textbooks or theory. His education comes from experience, observation, and instinct. He has learned that the world doesn't wait for anyone to figure things out, so he doesn't wait for validation, approval, or permission. While others hesitate, overanalyzing every move, he adapts. He reads people like open books, sensing hidden motives and recognizing opportunities where most see obstacles. This ability isn't magic, it's emotional intelligence in motion. Psychologists describe this as situational awareness, the skill of reading environments quickly and adjusting one's behavior for optimal outcomes. Street-smart individuals thrive because they've trained their minds to think on their feet, trust their intuition, and make decisions without relying on external authority. Independence is more than just the ability to survive alone. It's the freedom to act without fear of being misunderstood or rejected. The street-smart man moves efficiently through life because he doesn't waste time seeking validation. He knows that confidence is built through self-reliance, not social approval. In a world addicted to attention, he remains immune to the noise. He doesn't post every achievement or broadcast his plans. He simply executes. This mindset creates an aura of mystery and quiet power that commands respect. Neuroscience shows that when we act with autonomy, our brains release dopamine, the same chemical linked to motivation and reward. In essence, independence fuels itself. The more self-directed a person becomes, the stronger their drive grows. He also understands that opportunities aren't given. They're engineered. While others wait for ideal conditions, the street-smart man knows perfection is a myth. He works with what's in front of him, molding chaos into strategy. Many great innovators, from Steve Jobs to Richard Branson, embodied this principle. They didn't follow paths, they forged them, often without credentials or formal approval. This level of independent thinking makes a man ungovernable, not in a rebellious sense, but in a psychological one. He cannot be easily manipulated, controlled, or confined by social trends. His mind operates beyond systems of conformity. True freedom, after all, is not about having power over others, but mastery over oneself. The street-smart man embodies that mastery, mentally, emotionally, and socially, moving through life with quiet confidence, deliberate action, and unshakable independence. Number 6, he turns hardship into strategy. Pain sharpened his vision. Rejection, failure, and struggle didn't break him. They built him. Every setback became a blueprint for self-mastery, a lesson that taught him how to navigate life's unpredictable terrain with calm precision. He learned early on that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Psychologists call this process post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where adversity leads to greater strength, perspective, and purpose. Rather than allowing pain to harden his heart, he used it to refine his awareness. When others drowned in despair, he observed, adapted, and evolved. It's why he rarely fears loss. He's already mastered the art of rebuilding from it. This mindset separates the ordinary from the exceptional. In neuroscience, pain activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the same part of the brain that processes focus and decision-making. That means, quite literally, struggle can rewire your brain for higher awareness and mental clarity if you choose to endure consciously. For him, every failure was a recalibration, every rejection a redirection. While others sought comfort, he sought understanding. He didn't escape his wounds. He studied them until they revealed wisdom. Like tempered steel, his resilience was forged through heat, pressure, and persistence. In ancient philosophy, Stoics such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca believed that hardship is the path to virtue. Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This man lived by that principle without even naming it. When people left him, he learned self-reliance. When dreams crumbled, he learned patience. When uncertainty surrounded him, he built peace within. He discovered that loss doesn't erase your worth, it reveals it. He doesn't crave validation because he knows that mastery doesn't come from applause. It comes from endurance. Through pain, he gained emotional intelligence, self-discipline, and spiritual depth. He became the type of man who no longer reacts impulsively, but responds with wisdom. Pain taught him not only how to survive storms, but also how to find meaning in them. He now moves through life with a quiet confidence, understanding that everything that once hurt him was actually sculpting him into someone unshakable. The world calls it toughness. He calls it transformation. And when you've rebuilt yourself from the ruins, you stop fearing destruction because you finally realize the power to rebuild was never taken from you. It was born within you. The street-smart Sigma male doesn't seek the spotlight because he understands that true power doesn't need to announce itself. His brilliance lies in his ability to move quietly, observe deeply, and think strategically before acting. This calm precision comes from a strong sense of self-awareness. He knows who he is, what he wants, and what he refuses to become. Instead of trying to control others, he masters control over his own emotions, impulses, and reactions. Psychology calls this emotional intelligence, the ability to stay grounded while the world reacts in chaos. And that's what sets him apart. While others chase validation, he studies behavior, reads situations, and adapts with grace. He's the man who plays the long game, using patience and insight as his tools. In a noisy world obsessed with attention, his silence is his strength, and his self-mastery becomes the ultimate advantage. Sigmas, you've spent countless hours refining your inner world. You've embraced solitude and you've learned to rely on your own mind, your own compass. You've mastered the art of doing things your way, quietly, resiliently, without the need for applause. And in that stillness, something subtle but powerful has taken shape, the qualities of leadership. Yes, you may not stand on a stage, you may not raise the flag or march at the front of the parade, but inside, in your decisions, your habits, your silent consistency, you lead. And yet, even though you possess that fearless capacity, you refuse to lead in the conventional sense. You turn down the position, you step aside from the spotlight, and you choose your path rather than follow the road laid out for leaders. Why? Because you know that leadership is more than a title, more than hierarchy, more than telling others what to do. And inside you, there is a deeper truth. Leadership is being the standard. Leadership is showing up. Leadership is keeping your word. Leadership is freedom with discipline. In this quiet paradox lies your strength. You can lead fearlessly, yet you choose not to lead by default. And that choice is not a weakness, it is a mark of maturity, of distinction, of high value. In today's video, we'll walk through 6 subtle dynamics of how a Sigma male becomes a natural leader, and 6 reasons why he often declines the role others expect him to accept. This isn't about drama, it's not about positioning or showmanship. It's about inner sovereignty, wise restraint, and real influence. If you've ever felt the tug between having what it takes and not wanting the role that comes with it, you'll find clarity here. Let's begin. Point 1, autonomous vision. A Sigma male holds his own vision with quiet conviction, charting his course through life without waiting for anyone's validation. He moves with a rare sense of clarity, anchored not by social approval, but by an internal compass that guides him even when the path ahead is uncertain. This self-assured direction gives him the seed of fearless leadership. Unlike conventional leaders who often depend on group consensus or external affirmation, the Sigma's confidence comes from solitude and self-mastery. Psychologically, this reflects what behavioral scientists call internal locus of control, the belief that one's destiny is shaped by personal choices rather than outside forces. This mindset allows the Sigma male to stay steady when others panic, to keep building when others doubt, and to see possibilities long before the crowd catches on. His independence makes him a natural trailblazer, yet paradoxically, he refuses to impose his vision on others. He understands that true leadership is not domination, it's inspiration. This restraint stems from emotional intelligence and self-awareness. The Sigma male recognizes that forcing people to follow diminishes both parties. The leader becomes controlling, and the followers become dependent. Instead, he leads by example, letting his actions, discipline, and authenticity speak louder than any command. He knows that influence rooted in integrity endures longer than authority gained through coercion. In social psychology, this is known as referent power, the kind of influence earned through respect and admiration, rather than position or fear. A Sigma male embodies this naturally, often attracting followers not because he seeks them, but because others sense the strength of his autonomy. He is comfortable walking alone, yet his solitude radiates confidence, not isolation. He proves that real leadership begins internally, with mastery over one's emotions, vision, and purpose. In that sense, the Sigma's refusal to lead by force is not weakness, it's wisdom. He understands that people are drawn to light, not pushed by commands. His quiet determination teaches a profound lesson about the essence of leadership, that the highest form of power lies not in control, but in self-governance. By embodying his values rather than preaching them, the Sigma male becomes a living example of what it means to lead from within. A man who stands firm in his vision, unshaken by doubt, yet humble enough to let others find their own path beside him. Point 2, high standards without headlines. He lives by high standards: integrity, discipline, craft, and respect. That's leadership in action, even when it's silent. Unlike those who chase titles or crave validation, the Sigma male leads through example, not authority. His discipline is not about impressing others, but mastering himself. Studies in behavioral psychology often link this kind of self-regulated behavior to intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within, rather than from rewards or recognition. This is why people often find themselves drawn to his energy without him ever asking to be followed. He moves with quiet certainty, guided by principles rather than applause, and that's what makes his presence magnetic. In a world obsessed with visibility, the Sigma male's refusal to chase attention becomes his greatest form of influence. He knows that true leadership doesn't demand followers. It inspires them naturally. Researchers studying social influence call this the authenticity effect, where individuals who act consistently with their values, regardless of external validation, end up earning deeper trust and respect. When others see his discipline, his ability to stay calm under pressure, and his commitment to doing things right even when no one is watching, they begin to mirror his behavior. Without uttering a word, he sets a tone that others aspire to match. He doesn't crave the spotlight because he understands the difference between leadership and performance. Leadership is rooted in action. Performance is rooted in perception. The Sigma male is not interested in how things look. He's focused on how things are. That's why he refuses the traditional role of a leader when it's merely symbolic. He knows that power gained from image fades quickly, but influence earned through integrity endures. This mindset aligns with the concept of servant leadership, which emphasizes character over control. It's a philosophy found in both modern management studies and ancient wisdom, from the Stoics to the teachings of Christ, leading by serving, influencing by embodying. So he simply shows up every day, not to command, but to contribute, not to prove, but to perform with quiet excellence. And over time, that consistency speaks louder than any speech or slogan. People eventually recognize that leadership isn't about who talks the most or stands the tallest. It's about who walks the truth when no one's looking. That's why the Sigma male leads without leading. He doesn't need the title. His life is the testimony. Point 3, calm confidence in uncertainty. When others stall in chaos, the Sigma male stays calm. That calm gives him the aura and effect of a leader, yet he rarely demands a formal role because he trusts process more than title. He knows leadership is often quiet, doing the small, right things day after day. What makes this composure so magnetic is that it's not an act, it's discipline. Studies in psychology show that people naturally follow those who remain composed under pressure because calmness signals control, clarity, and confidence. 3 traits that the human brain associates with competence. This is why even in high-stress environments like corporate crises or social conflicts, a Sigma male's silence commands more respect than loud authority. His calm mind processes situations logically, drawing on a blend of emotional intelligence and self-mastery. Instead of reacting impulsively, he observes. Observation is his weapon. He understands that the moment you lose your temper, you lose your power. Neuroscientifically, this stems from balanced prefrontal cortex activity, where rational decision-making occurs, allowing him to think when others panic. Unlike traditional leaders who crave recognition, he leads through demonstration. He's the quiet force who organizes chaos without claiming credit, proving that influence doesn't always need validation. History's greatest innovators, like Nikola Tesla or Alan Turing, embodied this essence. They didn't fight for attention. They led by transforming ideas into reality. The Sigma male carries that same wavelength in modern life, strategic, independent, and quietly revolutionary. His belief in process over position reflects Stoic philosophy, where virtue and discipline outweigh ego. He knows that titles can vanish overnight, but consistency builds legacy. This mindset explains why Sigmas often outperform those obsessed with control. They prefer autonomy, not authority. Their focus is mastery, not management. The Sigma's leadership thrives in systems. He builds routines, sets standards, and lets results speak. Colleagues might not notice it immediately, but over time, his calm persistence shapes environments. Teams stabilize around him, not because he commands them, but because his composure becomes contagious. In a world addicted to noise and competition, the Sigma male reminds us that real power doesn't shout, it resonates. His calmness becomes a mirror for others to find balance, and his refusal to chase validation sets him apart. True leadership, in his view, isn't about being in charge. It's about being centered. He leads not because he wants to, but because people naturally trust the man who stays unshaken when the world trembles. Point 4, deep respect instead of command. A classic leader often commands, but a Sigma male leads by earning respect rather than demanding it. His power doesn't stem from position or authority. It comes from authenticity, competence, and quiet confidence. In psychology, this is known as referent power, the kind of influence built on admiration and trust. People don't follow a Sigma because they have to, they follow because they want to. His leadership style is subtle yet magnetic, drawing others in through calm assurance instead of loud instruction. This contrasts with the traditional top-down approach where leaders issue orders and expect obedience. Instead, the Sigma creates an environment of mutual respect. He allows others to think, act, and grow independently, which naturally fosters creativity and loyalty. Social science studies on group dynamics show that people are more committed when they feel autonomy and respect from their leader. The Sigma instinctively understands this. He doesn't micromanage or impose control because he knows control breeds resistance, not productivity. By refusing to default to formal leadership roles, he maintains his autonomy and, paradoxically, strengthens the autonomy of others. This creates a ripple effect where individuals feel ownership over their actions, resulting in stronger loyalty and deeper follow-through. It's leadership through inspiration, not intimidation. A Sigma's refusal to dominate doesn't make him passive. It makes him powerful in a different way. His restraint is strategic. He leads from the shadows, influencing direction without needing to stand in the spotlight. Think of historical figures like Marcus Aurelius or Lao Tzu, leaders who guided through wisdom and principle, not ego. This quiet authority aligns with what modern leadership experts call servant leadership, prioritizing growth, understanding, and empowerment over control. In an era obsessed with visibility and validation, the Sigma's quiet leadership becomes revolutionary. He proves that influence doesn't require noise. His silence carries weight because it's backed by consistency, skill, and purpose. When others look to him, they don't see someone seeking followers. They see someone worth following. This balance between independence and connection is what makes the Sigma's leadership enduring. He doesn't rule minds, he liberates them. In doing so, he earns the rarest form of respect, the kind that cannot be demanded, only deserved. Point 5, the inner first approach. Before a man can lead others, he must first learn to lead himself. True leadership doesn't begin in the boardroom, on a battlefield, or behind a podium. It begins in the quiet chambers of the mind and heart. The Sigma male, often misunderstood for his detachment or independence, embodies this principle. He doesn't chase titles, recognition, or authority because his focus lies inward. His greatest project is himself. Every decision he makes, every habit he cultivates, and every belief he reinforces stems from a deep desire to master his inner world before influencing the outer one. This form of self-leadership, often called autonomy of the self, is a psychological state in which a person acts according to deeply held principles rather than external validation. Research in behavioral psychology supports this idea, suggesting that intrinsic motivation, doing something for internal satisfaction rather than external rewards, produces more consistent, authentic, and resilient leaders. A Sigma male serves himself first, not in a selfish way, but in a disciplined one. He prioritizes his growth, his values, and his purpose, knowing that a man who cannot command himself has no right to command others. He understands that the mind is like a kingdom, and the one who rules it wisely becomes unshakable in any environment. This internal focus often makes him appear aloof or uninterested in traditional leadership positions, but that's far from the truth. He simply refuses to lead from ego. His guidance doesn't come from a hunger for control. It flows naturally from competence, clarity, and calm confidence. Studies in emotional intelligence show that leaders who practice self-awareness and self-regulation are more effective at inspiring trust and loyalty. That's exactly what defines the Sigma's leadership: subtle authority, not imposed power. When others seek followers, he seeks mastery. When others rush to command, he retreats to reflect. This introspection doesn't make him passive, it makes him precise. He leads through example, integrity, and quiet influence. His presence alone can shift the energy of a room because it radiates certainty without noise. The Sigma male lives by the understanding that leadership is not a role to be performed. It's a state of being cultivated. Before he leads outside, he conquers the storms within. And in doing so, he becomes the kind of man others naturally look up to, not because he demanded it, but because he earned it, through the unseen victories of self-discipline, consistency, and inner peace. Point 6, selective engagement. The Sigma male stands apart from traditional archetypes because his relationship with leadership is rooted in discernment, not ego. He doesn't chase authority for validation or recognition. Instead, he approaches it with precision and purpose. In psychology, this aligns with the concept of the idea that true motivation arises from autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The Sigma male thrives on autonomy, meaning he leads when his vision aligns with his core values and follows when it allows him to preserve his independence. Unlike the alpha, who often feels compelled to dominate, or the beta, who seeks direction, the Sigma male operates from inner conviction. He understands that leadership isn't about commanding others, but about guiding with clarity when it truly matters. He knows the weight of his ability, the scrutiny, expectations, and energy it consumes. Leadership, to him, is not a constant pursuit, but a calculated choice. He steps forward only when the mission resonates with his moral compass, when the outcome carries meaning, and when authenticity won't be compromised. This selective engagement reflects a high level of emotional intelligence, which psychologists identify as a key trait among effective yet humble leaders. His restraint doesn't stem from fear or apathy. It comes from wisdom. He realizes that true power lies not in being at the front of every crowd, but in knowing which battles deserve his attention. By refusing to lead when the cause is hollow or ego-driven, He maintains his integrity, creativity, and peace of mind. This makes his leadership fearless, because when he finally does lead, he does so from conviction, not compulsion. People naturally follow him because his authority feels earned, not imposed. His independence challenges the conventional idea that leadership must always be loud or public. Instead, his style mirrors that of historical introverted leaders like Abraham Lincoln or Albert Einstein, men who influenced not by dominating rooms, but by reshaping them with thought and depth. In today's world, where performative leadership often overshadows purpose, the Sigma male's selective leadership stands as a reminder that influence is most powerful when it's intentional. He leads when it matters, follows when it's wise, and walks alone when it's necessary. This balance between engagement and detachment gives him a kind of freedom most leaders envy. A freedom born not from control over others, but mastery over himself. So there it is, a quiet truth about leadership. If you identify with the Sigma path, recognize this: you may not need the title, you may not want the role, but you already possess the essence of leadership. Your vision, your discipline, your calm, your respect, and your inner command, they all point to your high value. And when you choose when and how to lead, that choice itself becomes leadership. If you found this insight helpful, take a moment tonight and reflect. Where in your life are you silently leading? Where have you declined the role yet still influence the outcome? That reflection alone begins the next level of your growth. And if you'd like more on this journey, on mastering your value, your character, your Sigma way, subscribe and join the community. Until next time, stay steady, stay sovereign. Having said this, there is a quiet tension in a room when a man appears who lives by his own code. Not loud, not seeking applause, but simply steady, observed and perhaps dismissed. Yet it is his very calmness that unsettles others. In that stillness resides a strength that cannot be forced, only allowed. And this strength often incites fear, not because it harms, but because it defies expectation. When a man walks his own path, unburdened by the need to belong, unpressured by the gaze of the crowd, he casts a long shadow, though he may stand alone. He is not the leader who commands the spotlight, nor the follower who carries the banner. He is something different, indirect, autonomous, and intangible. And it is this difference that makes him feared, misunderstood, and overlooked by many, but potent nonetheless. You may have encountered him, the man who avoids the social ladder, yet seems to navigate life's terrain more surely than most. He speaks when needed, acts when required, and retreats into silence to reflect. Others may call him aloof, erratic, and uncooperative. They may label him difficult or enigmatic, and in many ways they are right, because his nature resists the familiar scripts society hands out. The moment one recognizes that he will not play by their rules, fear quietly arises. That fear is not always conscious. It can surface as discomfort, as a challenge, or as subtle resistance. Because if someone else refuses to chase status, refuses to perform for approval, and refuses to mirror the crowd, then the crowd realizes how dependent it is on its own performance. And that realization stirs an unease. So we must ask, why is this character type so often feared? Why misunderstood rather than celebrated? And what does it mean for a man who recognizes these traits in himself? In this video, we explore the nature of the Sigma male, not as a catchphrase, but as a pattern of thought, behavior, and presence that quietly unsettles the status quo. We'll trace 6 core reasons why he is feared, and why that fear arises not just externally, but internally within the man himself. The aim is not to scare you, quite the opposite. It is to help you understand what is happening beneath the surface, and to recognize that this very quality can become your ally in growth, purpose, and integrity. So if you feel at times misunderstood, isolated, or simply restless in a world built for conformity, pause for a moment, allow yourself to watch quietly, and receive these ideas gently. Because sometimes the greatest shifts come in the silent spaces. Number 1, he is unpredictable by design. A high-value man who aligns with the Sigma profile moves through life like a quiet current beneath the surface, steady, strong, but unseen by most. He doesn't follow the pre-written script society has laid out. While others measure progress through visible milestones, titles, possessions, validation, he measures growth through mastery of self. His climb is inward, not upward. This makes him a paradox in a world obsessed with predictability. Society has long conditioned people to follow patterns: school, career, marriage, and retirement. These cycles create comfort because they are easy to categorize and control. But when someone like the Sigma steps outside of that framework, it disturbs the collective rhythm. Psychologically, this triggers what researchers call the fear of uncertainty, a natural human response to unpredictability. People feel safer when they can label others, but the Sigma male resists definition. His choices often defy logic to those who live by external validation. He leaves gatherings early, not because he's rude, but because his energy is precious. He prefers depth over noise, solitude over spectacle, and reflection over recognition. To the untrained eye, this appears as aloofness or mystery, but in truth, it's a form of psychological discipline, a refined understanding of where his focus belongs. Behavioral psychology suggests that unpredictability often translates to perceived power. When people can't anticipate your next move, they instinctively become cautious around you. The Sigma's unpredictability isn't chaos. It's controlled autonomy. He doesn't rebel for the sake of rebellion. He simply refuses to let his identity be defined by systems built for the masses. This subtle refusal is his silent revolution. It's why he's often misunderstood or even feared, not because he's dangerous, but because he represents freedom in a world addicted to conformity. Those who seek to figure him out often fail because his motivations aren't external. He operates from self-awareness, not social pressure. Over time, this creates an aura that draws curiosity and respect, even from those who once doubted him. Recognizing this unpredictability as strength rather than weakness is part of a man's evolution. The Sigma knows that being unpredictable doesn't mean being unstable. It means being unbound. And in a world desperate for control, the man who cannot be mapped becomes the one everyone quietly watches, admires, and deep down wishes they could understand. Number 2, he answers to no one but himself. Many men are raised in a world that teaches them to seek validation as proof of their worth. From a young age, they're rewarded for fitting in, following rules, and earning approval from teachers, bosses, peers, or even romantic partners. This external validation becomes a quiet addiction, shaping how they think, act, and define success. But the Sigma male operates differently. He doesn't chase validation. He builds his own framework for it. His standards are internal, rooted in self-respect and principle. Instead of measuring himself by how others perceive him, He uses his own values as the compass. This self-referencing mindset forms the essence of true independence, the ability to move through life anchored in one's own truth rather than drifting with the opinions of others. When a man reaches this level of self-assurance, he becomes remarkably difficult to manipulate because validation no longer motivates him. Flattery, gossip, and groupthink lose their power. This unsettles those who depend on external approval, for his calm detachment highlights their hidden insecurities. Social psychology refers to this as when people encounter someone who refuses to conform, they often feel threatened because it exposes how much they themselves do. The Sigma's independence mirrors their silent dependence, and that reflection can be uncomfortable. In practice, this looks subtle but powerful. He won't engage in gossip to win favor or speak louder just to be heard. He may stay silent in a heated debate, not out of fear, but because he doesn't need to prove anything. He may walk away from a group whose values clash with his own, even if it means being misunderstood. Others might label him as distant or arrogant. But what they're really seeing is integrity, an inner alignment that doesn't bend for acceptance. For personal growth, this philosophy can transform a man's sense of self. Building internal standards begins with honest reflection. What do you believe in? What kind of energy do you want to embody? Once these are clear, act on them quietly and consistently. Over time, you'll notice a shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you carry yourself. True confidence doesn't announce itself. It radiates from within. And when you stop depending on approval, your very presence commands respect. That's the paradox of the Sigma's strength. The less he seeks validation, the more valuable his authenticity becomes. Number 3, he sees through the masks. Humans are social beings, constantly navigating a web of relationships and interactions. To survive and belong, many adopt social masks, crafted personas shaped by expectations, fears, or ambitions. These masks aren't always malicious. They often serve as protection, a way to fit in or avoid judgment. Yet the Sigma male, the lone observer in the social arena, tends to see through these facades with remarkable precision. He doesn't rely on charm or manipulation. Instead, he studies. He watches the rhythm of behavior, the slight inconsistencies between words and actions, and the silent language of the body. Psychology calls this micro-expression reading, the ability to pick up fleeting facial cues that reveal true emotion before a person can consciously hide it. Over time, the Sigma male's independent nature refines this skill, allowing him to sense authenticity versus pretense, almost instinctively. This quiet perceptiveness makes him difficult to deceive or influence. While most people engage in social reciprocity, seeking approval through conformity, the Sigma male steps outside that cycle. He observes it like a scientist, studying a pattern, noting how people present themselves differently depending on who's watching. This detached awareness can be unsettling for others. When someone realizes they are truly being seen, not their polished mask, but their genuine self, it creates psychological discomfort. Social psychologists refer to this as the spotlight effect, where people feel exposed under another's undistracted gaze. That's why many instinctively avoid or even resent the Sigma male. His stillness acts as a mirror, reflecting back what others try to hide. In everyday life, this dynamic plays out subtly. During a conversation, the Sigma male might remain quiet, listening intently while others talk. His silence isn't disinterest, it's analysis. Then he might ask a question that cuts through the performance, revealing something real. This momentary truth can be disarming, even uncomfortable, because it disrupts the social script. Yet it's in these moments that growth begins for both parties. Practicing this kind of observation is not about manipulation, but about awareness. It invites deeper understanding, stronger intuition, and emotional intelligence. By training yourself to notice actions more than words, to listen, watch, and truly perceive, you gain clarity. And clarity, unlike control, doesn't seek to dominate. It simply sees things as they are. That sight alone is power, the quiet kind that cannot be faked and therefore cannot be influenced. Number 4, his power is silent, not spectacular. Flashy moves, loud victories, and public applause may captivate the eye, but they also fade as quickly as they rise. What endures is the quiet strength forged in solitude. The Sigma male embodies this principle, not by seeking attention, but by mastering himself in silence. His power is subtle yet formidable, built not on validation but on discipline. Psychologically, this reflects what behavioral scientists call intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within rather than from external rewards. Unlike those who chase status or recognition, the Sigma channels his energy inward, refining his habits, sharpening his focus, and cultivating resilience that few can perceive but all can feel. This inner power unsettles others because it cannot be quantified. There are no trophies to display, no followers to count, and no noise to announce it. It's a presence, a calm steadiness that makes others aware of their own chaos. This kind of strength is rooted in consistency and self-awareness. Neuroscience tells us that routines, like exercising at the same time daily or reading before bed, strengthen neural pathways that enhance focus and emotional regulation. The Sigma male understands this intuitively. He doesn't rely on motivation, he relies on structure. When he trains alone in the gym, he's not chasing muscle but mastery. When he reads quietly while others scroll, he's not escaping the world but expanding his mind. Every decision made in silence becomes a thread in the invisible armor he wears. Over time, that armor radiates an unspoken confidence, a grounded, unwavering sense of self that draws both respect and fear. In your own life, the same principle applies. Focus on your unseen grid, the habits and micro-disciplines that no one praises, but that build your foundation. The moment you choose to say no to distractions, to stay focused when no one's watching, you're constructing invisible pillars of strength. Sociologists often note that real influence isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the shadows of consistency. And one day, that silent discipline will speak louder than any boast ever could. You won't need to prove your worth. Your presence will do it for you. That's the essence of true power, the kind that cannot be measured, only felt. Number 5, he is comfortable with solitude. Solitude in today's fast-moving and hyper-connected world is often misunderstood. Society tends to associate being alone with loneliness, failure, or emotional detachment. People assume that someone who chooses isolation must be broken or antisocial. But the Sigma male sees solitude differently. For him, it is not an escape. It's an environment where clarity, focus, and authenticity thrive. When he withdraws, it is not from people, but from noise. He recognizes that the constant buzz of social validation and endless comparison can dilute one's sense of self. By embracing solitude, the Sigma male learns to hear his own thoughts without interference, to observe his emotions without judgment, and to strengthen his mind in ways that group dynamics rarely allow. What unsettles others about the Sigma's comfort with solitude is how it exposes their own dependency on social affirmation. Most people are conditioned to seek belonging, to feel seen, heard, and approved of. The Sigma, however, flips that script. He finds contentment not in the presence of others, but in his own. This reversal challenges the invisible contract that society operates on, the idea that connection equals worth. When someone doesn't need validation, it disrupts the balance. It highlights how fragile much of our social structure is, built more on mutual reassurance than genuine self-understanding. And that for many is uncomfortable because it reveals a truth they prefer to ignore. From a psychological standpoint, studies show that solitude, when used intentionally, enhances creativity, emotional regulation, and self-awareness. In fact, research from the University of Virginia found that people often struggle to sit alone in silence for even 15 minutes without reaching for distraction. The Sigma male's ability to do so demonstrates inner discipline, a sign of mental resilience. He doesn't avoid silence, he seeks it, because within that silence, he reconnects with his true motives, untangles confusion, and regains control of his direction in life. For anyone seeking growth, solitude is not something to fear. It's something to practice. Take moments each day to walk without headphones, sit without screens, and think without rushing to speak. These quiet intervals become powerful mirrors, reflecting who you are beneath the noise of expectations. Over time, you'll notice that the more you become at ease in your own company, the less sway others have over your mood, your choices, and your identity. Solitude, when embraced with purpose, is not emptiness, it's empowerment. Number 6, he holds a mirror to the world. In many relationships, the Sigma male acts as a mirror, not through words or confrontation, but through presence and principle. His quiet independence exposes what others often hide from themselves. By choosing authenticity over conformity, he becomes a reflection that challenges those around him to question their own choices. Psychologically, this is tied to a concept known as self-concept clarity, the degree to which one's beliefs about themselves are stable and well-defined. When people with unclear self-concepts encounter someone deeply self-assured, it can stir discomfort. They sense a difference, though they may not fully understand why. The Sigma doesn't seek approval, and that unsettles those who depend on external validation. His calm refusal to perform for society's applause highlights how easily others have surrendered to it. Yet his power isn't in rebellion, it's in consistency. His actions align with his values, creating a quiet strength that others can feel.